Hello there, welcome to my YouTube channel, UngainlyTitan here, and I want to start something new in this particular episode. This is not a strictly speaking a World of Tanks episode, this is more of a UngainlyTitan Responds to commentators and a bit extra kind of video. So I have had a number of comments made over the last 2 weeks that I felt deserved a bigger acknowledgement, and one particular set of comments that I just felt develop a broader conversation based on them. So the other thing was that kind of an informational thing that I just wanted to pass on to people who, I know some of my subscribers are also fellow YouTubers and may be of interest, but I'll leave that right to the end of the video. So, commentators and comments. First off, I want to give a shout out to UngainlyTitan, who's been made a number of comments and is running a grave risk of becoming my copy editor. He started off 2 weeks ago with the video. I had a video up called Yag Tiger. Now, in my defence, I was taking a break and I'd misread the intentions. I wanted to meet up with a friend of mine coming over in the United States, and I thought that I had more time, and it turned out that I didn't. So I had to rush out a bunch of videos in very short time frame, and I was running out of steam by the time I made Yag Tiger, and I was not really in a good place in the imagination department for a snappy title. Not that the snappy titles are one of my strong points anyway. There's a reason I was never in marketing. However, yes, I took your suggestion about Yag Tiger 8.8. At least refer to the tank in the video rather than a general title that could be a different Yag Tiger entirely, like the Tech Tree one. So Ye Olde Gamer also popped up again with the Covering Fire video, where he spotted that I had pasted over the end of the sentence in the description and suggested an alternative ending, which was probably better than the ending I had originally. Certainly, I've no idea what the ending I had originally was, but I'm sure it was. I'm sure it's better. I'm sure it wasn't. Didn't trip off the tongue quite like what he'd suggested. So, thanks. Well spotted. And finally, Ye Olde Gamer also popped up on the Search for Excellence T67 video, which intimated that it was too long. And I take your point. I probably got a bit carried away by the fact that I have high-speed broadband and can now launch very long videos where it might not have been appropriate for a World of Tanks video. That said, I don't particularly like the sub 10 minute ones, and an awful lot of games are about 6 to 8 minutes long. So I prefer putting two of those games together if I can find some way of linking them thematically, same tank or the same map or something. There was a couple of comments on the update Spring Games Charlie video, but I think I answered them directly. And on the Search for Excellence T67 video, there was a little essay written by Ewan Noel Kai Levy. Well, Ewan, he congratulates me on the third mark, and he'll drop me a few tips on my way to 100% grind, where little mistakes or nuances of map awareness make a huge difference in achieving that goal. My immediate reaction was to laugh at the notion that I could get 100% damage standing on a tank, particularly that tank, but any tank. But afterwards, thinking about it and thinking about it a little bit more seriously, first of all, I think you should read these comments. I think it is a very good critique of the 4 games that I put up, and failings and strengths and weaknesses of what I was doing and what I wasn't doing. I'm going to just respond to a few things. One of them was that I kind of dismissed the idea of having a 100% damage standing on the tank. But I've been thinking about it since, and I was thinking, there's no way of knowing whether I could get 100% damage standing unless I actually gave it a decent go. Now, I'm not about to do it anytime soon, because my personal goal, shall we say, for this year is to get the Senior Technical Engineer badge. Basically have ground out all and researched all the Tech 3 tanks for all the nations up to tier 10, not including the mercenaries. I don't think the mercenaries are part of the technical engineer. I don't think I need to do them. Now there is a further badge and a coin for having played all tier 10 tanks. I don't know if I'll make that one. I don't think I'll have time. There's they give a coin, but that's going to run out sometime in September, and I do not think I'll have this done by September. But it is certainly a goal to mine. I might not even have it done by Christmas, but it's certainly something that I intend to try and do, and it's kind of the priority over everything else. So I won't be trying for 100% damage standing on any tank. But I do take your point that if I don't try it, there's no way of knowing that I would get there. Now, a couple of things you said in the situation. You're absolutely right. Map awareness is one of my big failings. And not just map awareness. Map awareness is one of my big failings. The other big failing is that assuming that people are thinking the same as I am. Which I think is something that I was far less prone to when I was younger. I think it's something that's a fault of age. You get into the habits of using what they call them, heuristics, simplifying assumptions, stereotypes, tropes, and that sort of stuff to analyze situations around you and reduce the cognitive load. And we're living in a world that you have an immense amount of information flying past our heads all the time, and most of it is of no relevance. So the problem then is you come into a game and you're a bit rigid in your thinking, and you're a bit, I suppose, dismissive of data that you should actually probably be paying attention to. So yeah, I frequently miss stuff on the minimap that I should actually have spotted. And you will notice that all the top players are really, really good players. There's a thing from the guys that are just tipping along like myself. They have really good map awareness. That's one of their primary things. Some of them may be stronger at other elements than others. Some of them might be really good reflexes, and you know, when they fire a snapshot, they actually hit the target more often than most people, because they're not actually completely relying on auto aim or whatever. You know, they're actually doing the thing properly, and they're just able to do it. Various other things like that. One of the comments you made about me reversing into the positions, yes, I actually do that quite a lot. Just didn't do it in those particular games. But I'm not about to ever do a handbrake turn on the lake road on Lakeville. I'm not a very good driver. I actually do have real world issues with both clumsiness and depth of field. Depth of field is one of my... I don't have proper binocular vision. So... judging distances and depth of field is actually one of my issues, and it affects stuff. Even it affects even World of Tanks. It'll affect you in a game like that just as much as it'll affect you in real life. And there were certain kinds of real life sports I couldn't touch. I couldn't do badminton to save my life. There was no way I could tell how far away from me the shuttlecock was, and I would be engaged in premature striking or striking too late, or both, and have the shuttlecock sail between my wild flailing of the bat, or the racket rather. So anyway, yeah. But that said, I do reverse the tank into positions quite a lot of the time. I just didn't do it in those particular games, and I wasn't, like I said, I actually have problems recently with attempting to do handbrake turns on the T67. It doesn't seem to be working out for me. I used to be able to do it. However, I use the default button setup on the controller, and I'm not about to change. I know that there's people out there that there are other alternative layouts for buttons that are better for doing stuff like handbrake turns, but that means then that I have to learn a whole new button layout, and when you're my age, that's actually not easy. I would get confused, and I'd be trying to do the wrong thing. I mean, how would I put it? It took me 20 minutes or half an hour, recorded an hour I think, years ago when I went to America on a left-hand drive, sorry, to not be reaching for the gear stick with my left hand. It's an automatic car, it didn't have a gear stick anyway. But it's just, the reflex was just so ingrained into me that I was inclined to put the hand down towards the gear shift, where the gear shift would be. And I was inclined to do it in the passenger seat as well, which caused me to accidentally open the passenger door once. But I wasn't driving, so it didn't matter that much. On the ammo loadout of the T67, that's not my kind of normal loadout of the T67. That was just my final stretch for trying to get the third mark of excellence. I kind of left the high explosives in actually out of habit. It just didn't occur to me to get rid of them. Normally I keep some high explosives for resetting caps. But normally I run, I think, like 16 rounds regular AP and then whatever it is, 5 high explosive rounds, and the rest in premium would be my normal setup for a T67. The switch to full or near full APCR loadout was a mark of excellence effort, and yes, it made for a very expensive mark of excellence, but I had 30 million silver in the bank and I didn't care. This is the guy who blew 250 silver per game on average, going after the hammer with a full gold loadout on a Churchill 3. Basically squeeze the trigger, keep it pressed for the duration of the game, and just blow gold down the barrel as fast as I could get it out there. It worked. I got my hammer. It was a very expensive hammer, but I got it. To Ryan Swan regarding the Craft Panther. I actually like the Craft Panther, so I'd never consider selling it. Although if it was a competition between the Comet and the Craft, I would definitely choose the Comet or the Banshee, which I think is essentially the same thing. I think to get the Craft to be reliable, you need a crew that's got Sixth Sense, the view range skills, so recon, situational awareness, and what's the other one? And then Brothers in Arms, snapshot, and smooth ride. The latter two to reduce the bloom on the gun when the tank is moving, and to reduce the bloom on the gun when the turret's traversing. Both of those actually make a significant difference. And I think I have equipment rammer, coded optics, and vents. Although there is a strong argument to be made for gun laying drive as well, instead of vents. But I think once you have that, it's actually quite a serviceable tank. It's just that sometimes when you have crews that don't have all the bits and bobs, then it's kind of hard to be consistent in it. And I basically was training up a crew. They were the crew in the Panzer II Lux, and they'd only, well, they have more skills now because I've obviously got a few skills leveled up in them. I think they're up to 5 skills at the moment, but I think they only like two skills, maybe 3 skills or 2.5 skills when I started with them. Training them up, and I now need to get similar number of skills on the Czech tank and the Czech crew rather, because I only need 1 to get up the line, and on the Polish crew because I only need 1 to get up the line. The Polish crew is actually going to be the bottleneck factor here, because the Czech tanks I've already played with a bit, and I've already got like 2.5 skills on the Czech crew. But the Polish crew I'm starting from scratch, and I tend to train Mentor first, and then I train Sixth Sense or whatever, depending on what tank I'm using. If it's heavy tanks, I tend not to bother with Sixth Sense. So I have Mentor almost trained. So I'm going to get at least Sixth Sense, because I think the Polish line starts off lights, mediums, and heavies. So I'm going to probably go Sixth Sense, repair, Brothers in Arms, and the snapshot and smooth ride, because I'm not sure what the Polish tanks are like, but heavy tanks tend to be poor on the gun handling department, so the higher tier ones are going to be heavy tanks, so they're probably going to have poorish gun handling in comparison to medium tanks or light tanks. At least that's what I'm guessing. I haven't really looked at it, but we'll find out as we play along. Like, I mean, that's half the fun of it. So that's it for World of Tanks and YouTube related comments. on my videos. The next bit is more about an issue that I ran into in the last week in video editing, that about which there is very little information on, or at least it's very difficult to discover information on Google or on the internet generally about this problem, and it's very difficult. Like, I won't swear for certain that there's no information out there. There probably is a lot of information, but it was certainly beyond my Google foo to run into it. Now, I ran into this problem in the past, I know, but I researched it at the time, but I didn't actually get very deep into it. But one of the games that I played through was Fort Triumph, and I wanted to do a playthrough of Fort Triumph. Sort of a let's play where we start off at the start and I do the whole skirmish game of Fort Triumph. And I just do a series of videos and put them all up, maybe at once or in fairly close proximity. It'll be kind of they won't be part of my regular schedule of videos. I'm kind of using it as a trial run for equipment against things like streaming or possibly even doing live commentary. Even just playing a game, even if I'm not streaming it, but do live commentary while I'm playing the game. Because I have issues with one of my microphone as well. I'm not 100% sure that my microphone works correctly. I got a Rode Podcaster very early on. I started out with the Microsoft Live Chat, whatever it was, one of those headsets, and I thought this microphone quality was utterly dreadful. And at the time, I'd been watching Jingles, and he did a Mingles of Jingles where somebody had asked him about his YouTube setup and how he got into YouTubing and all this kind of stuff, and he mentioned the importance of a good sound setup and his use of a Rode Podcaster. So I remember looking up Rode Podcasters at the time, and I didn't have a lot of money, and they were expensive. And I mentioned to my nephew, who's a sound engineer, and he said that I could get a refurbished one from Thomann handy enough. So we bought a refurbished one. It didn't work initially, and they sent it back. We sent it back. We got another one, and it seemed to work. Well, it was working okay, but what I find is that it basically has to be up to the maximum to work in Video Studio. Now, that might be a Video Studio issue. I've noticed other people seem to have a problem with sound in these editors. But I also, it kind of gives me a tingle in the nose if I'm too close to it. But I get a better pickup, of course, if I'm close to it. But I think there is a problem with the, Corel Video Studio with editors. The cheaper editors anyway, in the audio input side of things, they just don't have good audio management. Because if I actually put a headphone directly into the monitor of the, there's a little jack on the microphone to monitor it, it's much louder, and I'm much louder from much further away. But that is, as a man says, another day's work, and I have actually decided to order a different microphone to try it out. I just did a bit of research on it, but the issue now is not about microphones. It's kind of beside the point, and I'm just rambling a little bit, so apologies for that. The issue I got, and I had it before, was basically made a video. I'm using NVidia Shadowcaster, or whatever, I think it's a Shadowcaster they call it, to record my video. It comes with the NVIDIA drivers, as long as your video card supports the functionality, and it's generally worked fine. And I've never had I've had problems occasionally, but in the past I kind of ignored, or wasn't able to find out much about what was causing these problems, and I just re-recorded the thing because I was doing fairly short segments. However, this one I had done a long playthrough of Fort Triumph, and I was making use of some of the footage to just do a quick response video, and I wanted to use the rest of the footage for playthroughs. So I basically had 2 to 3 playthroughs, And the next thing, it came back and it said that frame such and such is unreadable. So like frame 27,571. I'm just making that number up, but something along those lines out of 300,000 frames or whatever is unreadable. And I'm kind of going, okay, what does this mean? So I put it, I start searching on the internet. And a lot of the responses are for software that fix video issues. So that seems to be one of them. And it certainly that seems to be confirmed on Corel's forums, that one of the reasons you can get this message is that your video is actually corrupt. Now, there was nothing visibly wrong with the video. I had played it back in the Windows default movie player, whatever it's called, movies and film or whatever. And that worked. It worked fine on that. And it worked fine on the previews on Corel Video Studio. So I was on the preview mode and it worked fine. So I had my doubts in this particular case that there was anything wrong with the video. I know that in a previous case I got something similar and I had issues where there was definitely something going on with like you could see choppiness in the video when you were playing it back. So there was probably missing frames or dropped frames, and there was sort of, you know, some weird color effects on the edges of the picture. So I thought, okay, maybe there's an issue there. But in this case, there was nothing. The video, when you looked at it in a media player, looked fine. So I searched a bit harder, and like I said, you get these applications that seem to offer to fix it, but they're expensive. Or else they come from very dodgy looking websites where you're wondering, if I download this, am I going to get a ton of adware thrown in with the installer? Because they didn't seem to be from the manufacturer's site. In other words, you were getting such and such a utility, but the website that's offering you the download seems to have nothing to do with the name of the makers, you know, the maker of the utility. So I thought, okay, this I did download one of them, and it claimed to fix the problem, but it wouldn't let me save it so that I could put it into Corel Video Studio and check it out. But it did have Stellar or something that was called. It did have a thing on the website where somebody was on a blog post where you could use VLC Media Player to fix issues with corrupted video files, and I tried that and it didn't quite work. Well, it worked once, but what it did was it replaced one frame and it just repeated it through the rest of the video, and that was no good to me. And the other, but I discovered there's another source of this error message, and the other source of this error message is variable frame rate video recording. NVidia ShadowPlay uses variable frame rate video recording. It doesn't support constant frame rate video recording. And I also downloaded the 2019 version of Corel Video Studio, and that didn't solve the problem either. Well, it rendered the files, but it gave me an entirely different problem, that I'd color bleed out from one frame to another. And what the source of that is, that apparently Corel Video Studio and a lot of the maybe all the editors, but certainly some of the most of the low-end editors that would be within my price range, don't handle high definition video. So if you have 60 frames a second at 1080p and you go to 30 frames a second, these video editors won't do it. They won't do it well. Now, it's a simple matter to go into the settings on NVIDIA and tell it to record at 30 frames a second, which I did. That's not a problem. It just meant that I had to play the game again, which wasn't a huge problem either. But the other issue is that NVIDIA records in a variable frame rate. So to save memory and processing power, if there's not a lot happening, it just doesn't record as many frames. And this throws video editors for a loop, and they just will refuse to handle it, and they'll throw an error. And this is the source of that. So two solutions that I've found. One of them I have tried, one of them I haven't. One is to download a utility called Handbrake. Put the videos into it and tell it to output them as, it's a transcoding. Basically, it'll convert videos from one format to another. And tell it to convert from variable rate to fixed frame rate. And that seems to work fine. I've tried that, done a couple of videos, seems to work fine. The other one apparently is you could use Windows Movie Maker if you're on Windows and put the video into Windows Movie Maker, render it, and it will output it in constant frame rate format. And you can then put that into your video editor and do your thing. So, as a kind of a for your information, this is something that people might find of interest. If you can't read frame rate on a video editor, then check to see is it, and if it's from NVidia Shadowcaster, then that's possibly one of the issues that might be going on. If the video isn't visibly corrupted, then it might just be that the video editor is objecting to the variable frame rates. Now it doesn't always do it, so obviously it's not a continual problem, but it is a problem sometimes, because it has loaded video from for Triumph before and rendered it quite happily without me converting it or anything. But I probably will now make a habit of converting it on the basis, because it's just a pain in the ass to do so much work and then find that it has to be redone in a different way. Anyway, thank you for watching the video and putting up my rambling. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, please give it a like and a share. Feel free to comment. I would encourage you to comment, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell, and I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.